Findley. I just finished my 3rd year at the University of Waterloo. So what grade are you guys in now? 6, 5-ish. Okay, so you got a little bit of time until you're where I am, but that's okay. My program is knowledge integration. Has anybody ever heard of that? It's okay, nobody actually has. It's kind of small. So knowledge integration, or KI, is about bringing together different types of knowledge from a bunch of different places to solve really complex and difficult problems that can't be solved by one thing. So, for example, climate change can't just be solved by scientists. It has to be solved by scientists and gardeners and politicians and artists and fashion designers and regular citizens and all of these different people working together. Social entrepreneurs, do you guys know what an entrepreneur is? No? Not so much? That's okay. I didn't know about like 2 years ago. So an entrepreneur is somebody who starts their own business or their own program, okay? And a social entrepreneur is somebody who does that, but also wants to do good for the world. So they start their own program or business that helps people out. So I work for SSE, which is a school for social entrepreneurs. Right now I'm focusing on SSE's Unlearning program. Unlearning is about becoming aware of how your thinking can limit you and letting go of the stuff that no longer serves you so that you can do better. I'd like to thank the organizers for making this event happen and for inviting me to be a part of it. I only got here a few minutes ago, but it sounds like you guys are doing some really cool stuff. I'd like to congratulate all of you. I consider you guys to be change makers. I'm going to be talking about my experience for a bit today, not for too long, because I think you guys have had a kind of a long day. But I'm going to talk about the importance of group work in change making. In your schools, do you guys ever work in groups for projects? Yeah? Right. And how many of you guys actually really like working in groups for projects? That's it. That's impressive. Awesome. Great. Well, I'm going to give you a few tips so that you can make the process of working in groups easier and make sure that what you get out of the group project is really great. Okay? I'm going to take that as a yes. I will admit that fashion is not my thing. Who here really loves fashion? Yeah? A few of us? Very nice. A few back here? Okay, true. So maybe fashion isn't a really big thing for a lot of other people. I've always been interested in climate change and the environment. I've been interested in reading, in learning, and in soccer. I've been playing for the university soccer team for the past 3 years. I've grown up with the idea that to live well is to try to make a difference. That's what my parents always told me. So I was a member of social justice clubs, eco clubs. Do you guys have like an eco club at your school? Yeah? Sweet. I participated in community events, and I raised awareness about climate change in my school. But I didn't really think that fashion could come into the equation of my life of activism. But the fashion industry, as you guys have probably learned today, is full of opportunity for more eco-friendly and sustainable practices. And its roles in our world and in the causes of climate change must be addressed. So I'm not here speaking to you because I'm a fashion expert. You can kind of tell by what I'm wearing here. I'm not a fashion expert. That's okay. But I'm here because I'm a change maker, just like you. I am also here because, like, I don't know, at least the majority of you, I like wearing clothing. I would rather wear clothing than not wear clothing. So I think everyone should have clothes to wear. There are more than 7 billion people on the planet, so that's a lot of clothes. And as a consumer of clothes, and I assume all of you like clothing too, we need to be aware of the issues surrounding the clothing industry and make informed choices. So choices that we think about. I can use the power of my dollar, the things that I buy, to help you change the world as change makers. So I'm invested in this movement, this thing that you're doing here, Fashion Impact Challenge, and I'm invested in you guys. I thought about what I would talk about today, and I realized quickly that it's not fashion tips, because I don't have many of those, but I am a change maker, just like you, so I'd like to tell you about my experiences trying to make a difference. What I've learned is that no one person can make change alone. You need a group. I've tried to make change alone, but it didn't really work. I realized that I needed other people with me. I've worked on a few major group projects, and I've learned some specific tips for helping groups work as well as possible together. So when I was in grades 10 and 11, so when I was in high school, I co-founded and co-coordinated ClimateCon, which is the first TDSB-wide climate change conference for high school students. The day-long event had more than 100 student attendees and was held at the Mars Discovery District. Does anybody know where the Mars Discovery District is? It's kind of this giant complex of buildings with a bunch of cool people in it. So we were there for the day. I was one of 4 student coordinators, and we managed a team of 40 volunteer students who helped us out. My coordinating team and I, so the 4 of us, were working on this conference every day for at least 6 months leading up to the event. So that's like 3 hours a day, every day, for 6 months. So doing that much work meant a lot of messaging back and forth because we weren't always together. Do you guys message back and forth with your group mates at all? Yeah, if you ever, you have group chats and stuff, sometimes? One day when I was at soccer practice for 2 hours, I came back, I hadn't checked my phone, I checked my Facebook, and there were 372 unread messages from this one group chat. And only about 30 of those messages were actually about the conference that I was organizing. The other, 342 were about movies. It was a lot. So here's my tip number 1 for you guys. If you are talking on social media about your group projects, and I suggest that you do because, we're not always going to be together, and when you need to talk about stuff, use Messenger or Snapchat or Instagram or whatever, but only talk about the actual project, okay? That messaging channel is like your sacred place, so you don't really want to pollute it with things that don't have to be there. So I mentioned that I worked every day for at least 6 months on this conference. That was too much. I should not have done that. My mental health was affected. I was exhausted at all times, and I wasn't having fun anymore. So my tip number 2 is that your mental health is more important than any project. Have you ever stayed up late to work on a project because you knew that you had to get it done for the next day? Yeah, me too. So I feel like we can do that sometimes, but when we do it too much, it affects how we feel a lot. We don't want to go back to school. We don't want to go and do whatever we're doing. So I'm telling you, and I hope you'll take it, that you're more important than any school project, than any social change project. So that's tip number 2. I also said that I didn't spend a lot of time in person with my fellow coordinators. I realize now my tip number 3. I should have hung out with them outside of meeting and project times. When you guys are put in your groups, are you always put with friends? No? Yeah. I wasn't put with friends for a lot of my group projects, but I realized that spending time with the people who weren't my friends made me get to know them better. And then it felt like the group project was way more fun, and we could get a lot more done. So this past year in my university project, I was involved in a group project that was 7 months long. One project, 7 months. Has anybody else ever done that? Yeah, thank goodness. It's really a lot. So we had to create a museum exhibit. So we had to research and design and build and exhibit this giant shared learning space. So my exhibit was called Mashkawizi. Can everybody say that with me? Mashkawizi. Awesome. Yeah. Does anybody know what that means? No? It means strength in Ojibwe. So my exhibit, Mashkawizi, was focusing on the Canadian residential school system. Has anybody heard about that? Have you learned about that in school? Yeah. So I was learning about the trauma and the hurt experienced by those Indigenous people who survived the system and what it does to their families. So my team's goal was to provide a platform for other people to share their stories. Has anybody ever watched Friends? You don't have to be embarrassed. I love that show. Yeah, a few of you? Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe not all of you. That's okay. My next tip kind of takes from Friends. There's a Friends episode with a couch. Yeah, and it involved pivoting a lot. So my 4th tip is to pivot. So does everybody know what pivoting means? Yeah. What does it mean? Yeah, you have to pivot in basketball. So it's like changing directions really quickly, right? Yeah. So in group work, sometimes you have to change directions really quickly with your project. So maybe like one part of the project doesn't work, and then you have to figure something else out to do really fast. Yeah? So that happens a lot, and it happened a lot in some of my group projects. So you have to be ready to make quick changes and keep moving forward. So my team would meet to work on Mashkawizi twice or 3 times a week. And at the beginning we would meet, every time we would meet, we would work for 3 hours or more. That's, yeah. Has anybody ever met for 3 hours at one time to just work on a project? A few? Yeah? Was it too long?
Well, I only worked for like 2 hours and so.
Okay, yeah. So that's, okay, well, you said it before me. I would suggest, this is my tip number 5. Tip number 5. Meetings should be short and sweet. Or salty, or savory, or bitter. So you should always bring snacks. Snacks to your friend. You can tell that to your parents, you can tell it to all of your other group mates. Here I am saying right here that for every group meeting, you should have a snack. You can tell your teachers, you can say, you know what? This lady, she said that we need snacks for every group meeting. So feel free to tell them. I suggest snacks. It makes working a lot easier. My last tip number 6, is about having a project manager. Has anybody ever heard of a project manager? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. What do you guys think it means? Yeah.
I think it means like somebody who like helps organize the project.
Yes, totally. So this project manager is a person with really good organization skills, really good time management skills, and really good communication skills, so they can talk to everybody. Who in this room thinks they can be a good project manager? It's not everybody. It's not a role for everybody, but it's a role that somebody in your group should take, so you guys make sure you're always organized. So not all group work you do will be significant projects, and so the tips I just gave you might not work for everything. So not everything might be 6 months long, 7 months long. That's okay. For example, if you're designing a poster with your friend for one of your Fashion Impact Challenge fundraisers, I really hope it doesn't take you 7 months. That would suck. Yeah. But I still hope you keep my advice in mind. And I went through a lot of not so great group work, and I got these tips and they helped me work through that. So I'm giving them to you now, so I hope that when you get to groups, and if something isn't going so great, you can use the tips and make things better. So why do you guys think group work is good? In the purple, at the back.
Because you have a lot of ideas and then you can get the best of them.
Yes. Okay, one more. In the leopard print, is that a leopard print? Yeah.
You can help each other if you need help.
Totally. That's awesome. So I was going to say, basically exactly what you two were going to say. Group work is key to making the world better in general and making your projects better in particular, because groups are made up of people who can help each other and also people who aren't the same as you, who have different ideas. Diversity, being different, is what makes the group and the community and the world stronger. So different people taking different views allows for the creation of new and better solutions. Solutions that wouldn't have been possible without all of these people working together. So here's my final thought for you guys, and it's kind of more like an action challenge a little bit. Who knows who Greta Thunberg is? Anybody? A few of you? She has like the braid, she's from Sweden. No? A few? Yes? Okay. So for those of you who don't know, Greta is a 15-year-old girl from Sweden who protested herself every Friday in front of the Swedish government buildings to get her government to do more about climate change. And so she started as an individual, but then news outlets started taking notice, and other people started taking notice. And then she had all of these other people supporting her and helping her to make change on the world stage, globally. So Greta is actually now an international figure in the climate change movement and a role model to youth like me, hopefully like you, all over the world. She's spoken to the United Nations. Does everybody know what the United Nations is? Yeah. And is, she's also partnering with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So anybody heard of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator? Okay, maybe that's a little, that's okay. To speed up the signing of the Paris Climate Agreement. And she continues to protest every Friday, but is now joined by thousands of others in her fight for climate action. So Greta decided to do one small thing because that's what she knew she could do. She found out what she was engaged by and passionate about, and she took action, and then others joined in. So, let's see here. Do you guys have any role models that you look up to? Yeah, in the back. Yes, Jane Goodall. Dang, that's a good one. Yeah, in the purple.
Kawhi Leonard.
Yes, Kawhi Leonard. He's pretty good. Anybody else? Role models? Yeah.
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling, very nice. Yeah, one more. Steve Irwin, very cool. So one of my role models is Greta. Maybe your role model is Steve Irwin, or J.K. Rowling, or Kawhi Leonard, or whoever it is. So I'm wondering who in this room is able to get to the level of their role model. What if you went home today and you told your parents, I want to be the next J.K. Rowling of the book industry, or I want to be the next Kawhi Leonard of the NBA? What would they say? And what would you do? How would you make a difference? And how would you get others to join you? Who are the other members of your group project, the diverse individuals who would help you make a difference? Just something to think about. I think we all have the capacity to be Greta's, or to be Steve Irwin's, or to be whoever it is. But here's the thing, the last thing. Nothing is going to change. The world isn't going to change. Your little world isn't going to change. My little world isn't going to change unless we decide who we're going to be and what we're going to do, and then bring people together into our group to do it. I'll be out there working on my group project, maybe with Indigenous people and really long conferences, I don't really know. And maybe you'll be out there working on your group initiative, whether it's with fashion, or with basketball, or with writing, or with environmentalism and monkeys, who knows? But whatever happens, we'll be part of the change-making community together. We'll be doing our own group projects. And I look forward to supporting you and seeing you in your groups, in your change-making endeavors. Thank you.